Pablo Gomez Jr. was a social justice activist that attended the University of California, Berkeley, where they majored in Latino studies. During his time at the university, Gomez Jr., who identified as non-binary, became very popular amongst many political activist groups where he attended and led many protests, all while being involved in the university's Queer Alliance Resource Center. On the night of January 5, 2017, Gomez Jr. attended a party with his friend and fellow SJW activist, Kiana Schmidt, where they talked about celebrating Dia de los Reyes. At some point during that night, Gomez Jr. and others went to another room where it is said that they smoked an illegal substance. What type of substance was never identified. An hour later, Gomez Jr. came out of the room butt naked with only a scarf wrapped around him. With a distressed look on his face, he ran around the party asking people weird questions before all of a sudden running out of the house. Kiana and a few friends chased after him, but eventually lost sight. The next day around 11 a.m., waking up in the house where they had recently had the party in, Kiana was getting ready to leave when she saw Gomez Jr. having a conversation with somebody where she described it as a heated talk, some 20 feet away. After the person left, Gomez Jr. then noticed Kiana and came to her car. It was then where Kiana had noticed that Gomez Jr. had cut all of his hair off, which was usually waist length. When she asked him about it by calling him Pablo, he responded, "I'm not Pablo, I'm Ray now." He then instructed her to take him to a friend's house on Ashby Avenue, where during the drive, Kiana claimed that he kept muttering to himself. When they arrived, she asked questions about Gomez Jr.'s plans and who lived at the house, for what she claimed was out of concern for him, to which Gomez Jr. didn't answer the questions. He just thanked her for the ride and told her she was a good friend. It was there where Kiana Schmidt claimed that she had a weird feeling as well as a deep concern about Gomez Jr. So she drove around the block, parked her car, and walked back to the house where she dropped him off. When she made it there, the door was wide open. She then heard a voice coming from the left side of the house, so she went to check it out. And when she got there stood Pablo, pacing around in a small patch of blood, holding a bloody knife. When Kiana asked him about what had just happened, Gomez Jr. became enraged, where he took the knife and all of a sudden started attacking her. After her desperate pleas, he ended up stopping the attack and then asked Kiana if she'd help him get away, where for some reason, she agreed. Gomez Jr. then took her keys where he drove them to Ridge Road. It was then he instructed her to follow him in the car as he walked to his destination. But Kiana, who started feeling the effects of blood loss from the attack, instead ran into the streets where she flagged down a car that called 911. Police searched for Gomez Jr., where they ended up finding him in Burbank, California. He was arrested and booked in the Los Angeles County Jail. Following the stabbing investigation of Kiana Schmidt, it was then that police learned of the events that led to it. So they went to the Ashby home, where after searching, they found the body of 27-year-old Emilie Inman, a nature program instructor for 5th and 6th graders at Sienna Ranch in Lafayette, California. They found her body buried underneath a pile of hay covered by a yellow flower bed. On Friday, November 22, 2019, Pablo Gomez Jr. was convicted of murder and attempted murder, but was found not guilty by reason of insanity and was sentenced to 39 years in a mental hospital. A lot of Emilie's friends and family still wonder why Gomez Jr. did this in the first place, to which some people think it was due to the psychosis of the drugs that he smoked that previous night, while others think it was racially motivated. For you see, when you check the archives of Pablo Gomez Jr.'s social media history, in many parts, he displays a huge hatred for white people, many a times. Ever since Pablo Gomez Jr. has been charged with the murder of Emilie Inman, Many organizations such as Black Lives Matter and the Alliance for Climate Education have rushed to erase their association with him, including a 2014 article where they praised Gomez Jr. at an event hosted by him and Governor Jerry Brown, where they were the main speakers. But you already know, the internet never forgets. And that concludes today's chapter. This is Psycho Rick saying until next time, Happy New Year, and thanks for reading. If you enjoyed today's video and would like to see more, then hit that like button, share with everyone you know, comment in the comment section below by leaving your thoughts and future requests of things that you would love me to go over, as well as follow me on Twitter and Instagram. This is Psycho Rick saying until next time, thanks for watching.